There we go.
Got the
Is
video
that better?
coming in here. Yeah, there we go.
All right.
Thanks for joining. Thanks for joining.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. So, Aaron, I'm Adam, and I'm actually calling you from overseas right now, but thanks so much for taking some time to share everything that's going on. And I guess it's been a couple of months for us to finally connect,
Yeah.
and I'm dying to know, and I have a feeling the other people who follow the IWC site are interested to know, exactly maybe a little bit about your history with the disease and how you're doing currently, all the different things. I know that you're heavily involved with extracurricular athletics, and I think a lot of
Absolutely.
people would be really interested to know how you're able to bring all this into your life, even with having UC, for example. So
Yeah. Absolutely.
start wherever you like.
Okay. I first and foremost, I want to raise awareness as a healthcare provider. I want to raise awareness to to UC and Crohn's. There's a lot of people that I believe that have this that really don't understand it or want to talk about it because it's a little taboo.
Sure.
So I first, after talking to my wife the last few weeks, I think I first started to feel some symptoms maybe 12 years ago. And then I really didn't get into a full bloom of effects or full flare until around 19. Let me back that up. So about 5 years ago. So um, first off, the more prevalent symptom of bleeding came about. I was doing some triathlons, doing some training, and the saddle on a tri bike is very narrow. The saddle being the seat, so it's very narrow up front. So I just assumed I gave myself a little hemorrhoid or internal hemorrhoid. That's where the bleeding was from, so I wrote it off as that.
Sure.
Competed in a tri. Figured that I had some symptoms at that point. Figured that I got a little bit of a lake bug in me. In a few days, it'll work its way out, and it'll be done. Well, the symptoms intensified. And that's when and the key to all of this, Adam, the key that I want to get out there to everybody is that recognize the symptoms ASAP. I mean, as soon as you possibly can, get to your gastroenterologist and get a colonoscopy done so you have an idea of what is going on there. You can't see. You can't see in there. So,
Sure.
you know, but I wanted to make people aware of all of that because it's like I said, it's a little taboo. So I had the procedure done, and it was determined at that point I had a little bit of a mild case. So, okay, no big deal. They gave me a little bit of Azicol. They gave me a small dose of prednisone, and it seemed to fix it. It seemed to, for about 6 months or so, it seemed to be fine. And then
Gotcha.
all of a sudden, it just rocketed. And it got to the point. I mean, I never missed a day of work, and I don't recommend anybody doing that because
Sure.
it was rough. So I would get up, do my thing, go to work, however long that would be, and then I'd come home, take a shower, sit on a chair in pajamas, covered in a blanket, and in the middle of summer, just shiver.
Wow.
It was horrifying. My wife wasn't real sure what was going to happen with me, and so I I was seeing a gastroenterologist at that point, and he was a good guy, just wasn't being as aggressive as he needed to be, I thought. And so then I saw another guy. At that point, my thought was leading. Okay, I'm at the end of my rope. I wonder if surgery is my last option. And my wife, God love her, found the guy in Pittsburgh, and Miguel Reguero, and he saved my life. He absolutely saved my life. I walked into his office, and he looked at me and said, "I see this every day. Um, this is I can help you." And
Yeah.
my wife and I started to cry. It was very emotional for us, and it was a rough couple of months, but it wasn't until I started the Remicade that I started to notice a lot of symptoms reduce. So, and at the infusion center, they said to me, "Hey, look, you're probably going to see some results in this in about 7-8 weeks." Well, 2 weeks. I saw.
Wow.
I had because you had the first infusion, and then 2 weeks later you go back for the second, or 2 or 3 weeks later, whatever it was, and then it was on. I mean, I was in full remission. I was directed toward remission at that point, and here it is, a year and a half, 2 years on Remicade and sulfa and Imuram, a couple of other supplement type things. I am in, knock on wood, full remission. Last year I competed in 6 triathlons.
Whoa.
This year I finished 5. And I'm your atypical triathlete. I'm about 6'3", 6'4", 220. And,
Gotcha.
It takes a lot of movement to get someone this size up over a hill on a bike.
Wow.
A lot of the other triathletes are little guys. They're like, littler guys, 5'6", 5'7", 5'9", 150, 160 pounds. Sometimes I wish I were shorter.
Yeah, that's incredible. So you've had an absolute turnaround.
Absolute turnaround.
And for you, a common question with the different types of treatments that exist that I receive a lot, and I think in general people with UC have, is how long will Remicade take to kick in, or Humira, or Ascol, or Colizol, or Prednisone, or this or that? And everyone, it seems to have, there's no standard answer for everyone. People are differently. But for you, again, how long until you started feeling like, wow, I think this might be doing something positive for me? How long was that?
I think that what helps a lot on this, and I'm pulling up my journal. So what helped me was, and if you can have the state of mind to do it, keep a journal of what is going on, because God willing, you're going to get better. And so here we go. I'm looking at so I have a bunch of questions. Of course, you have to ask all these questions. So I remember May 5th, I'm off of prednisone. First and second infusion, things were okay, quote unquote. Third infusion, 2 days following, were rough, but seemed to have leveled off, down to 3 to 5 BMs a day. Urgency has decreased significantly. June 12th, dropped to 3 pills a day. I'm not sure what I was talking about there. June 22nd, down to 150 milligrams of Imuram. And then another 3 weeks later, I stayed up. I was outside until about 9 o'clock at night, and I began training.
Wow.
At that point. So, and a lot of this is so what I did is, so I realized the benefit of all of the cocktail of medications within a few months. But that's me. That's not everybody. Am I fortunate? I don't know. I want to. The reason I've reached out and I've relied heavily on your website because it got me through the dark days.
Excellent.
It helped me realize that there are millions of other people out there worldwide that are reporting these stories. And by the way, your website is known in the gastroenterologist community. So
That's great.
They are well aware of your work and what you're doing and spreading the word. So hats off to you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So, I've done my best to refer people to I Have UC.
Yeah, I appreciate that as well. Thank you.
Absolutely.
It's not just me. There's 60, 70,000 people that use the site a month that contribute stories,
Right.
comments, and so forth, and that's really what it's been all about from day one. So that's
Right.
great. So I have a whole bunch of questions, and
Yeah.
I think for me, what's tough to see, and I think for people that are family members and friends of people that have UC, is watching their loved one or their boyfriend or sister or brother or grandson or schoolmate who has gone from totally healthy without any known medical issues, whatnot,
Right.
to sometimes a slow, steady decline, or sometimes a very, very, very rapid decline from perfect
Right.
health to 1 month later, maybe even having their colon removed.
Right.
So the rebound and getting from, let's say, your lowest point, which everyone reaches at some point or the other. I can
Absolutely.
remember very clearly where that was for me as far as where my health and mentally feeling like, wow, am I going to actually ever be semi-normal someday in
Right.
the future?
Right.
For you, how was that process? And if you could have any type of length of time, because that's what people I think are really interested in knowing is,
Right.
when am I going to be normal again? Or when am I going to be able to train for a triathlon again?
Right.
And so forth. Any ideas you have there?
Well, I think it all depends on your body. It depends on how you're going to react to the medication. For myself, it was a process that lasted, probably a couple of years of,
Sure.
of full flares until I realized that I need to do something a little different, and that little thing that made a difference in my progression was seeing another provider. So, and if you're not, in my advice as a medical provider out there, I'm a hand therapist. So, as a medical provider, if you're not happy with something that is not going on, you don't feel like you're being treated the way you need to, get a second opinion. I've recommended that for some of my patients, and I would say the same thing for everything else. And I think that a lot of providers out there need to recognize that.
For sure.
But for me, like I said, I believe that I've been having the symptoms for 10, 12, 13 years, and it really crept up on me about 3 or 4 years ago and 5 years ago. And it took a good 2 years to kind of get a firm handle on it, and now, well into 2 years of remission, I'm living life.
Sure.
I got this cat by the tail. I got the tiger by the tail on this
Excellent.
one, and I'm just you got to have a healthy lifestyle. There's diet restrictions you'd have to adhere to, even though with the Remicade I'm told I can pretty much eat whatever I want.
Sure.
I don't. I stick pretty close to a good healthy diet.
What types of things do you stay away from?
Red meats, sauces, a lot of fats, butters, those types of things. I introduce leafy green vegetables sparingly, some beans. I've got to watch, my iron content, right? Foods rich in vitamin D. For a while I was a vegan, and I think it was harder on my wife and kids than it was on me, because I enjoyed the food. They wanted something a little more mainstream.
Yeah.
But I reintroduced a lot of chickens and pork, and you just have to, watch what you add to it, and that's really what's helped me out.
Gotcha. Do you notice that certain types of things that you eat, or let's say any other things in your lifestyle for that matter, affect you and the disease, or are you able to figure any types of things out that maybe not just food, let's say, outside of that you stay away from, activities, events, mental awareness, anything?
Well, yeah, I mean, sodas wreak havoc on the GI system, so I try to steer away from those. and stress is a big deal with this. So you've got to find your happy place. Whether that happy place is just cornering yourself off into a room, or for some people it's meditation, some others
Sure.
it's a massage. And find yourself a position in your day where you can just unload and just relax. And if that means you go to the bathroom, if you haven't been there already enough, then you go there and you just kind of do nothing, mindless activity.
Sure.
I'm not a big TV watcher, and for me that was going and watching a little bit of TV, or watching my son play hockey, or one of my daughters play soccer. That was mindless, not mindless, but it was relaxing for me to do.
Gotcha.
So a little bit of me time.
Excellent. And Aaron, so if I could ask you as well, looking forward,
Yeah.
It's incredible that you are training in all these triathlons. I think that is super awesome. And I know that there's a lot of people that follow the website that are interested in getting back into athletics because maybe they were doing that prior to getting diagnosed and feeling not so great. So I hope that your story here can let people know for sure and give them the evidence that yes, indeed, it is for sure possible. But let me ask you about moving forward and in the future. And have you had any suggestions from your current GI doctor? Is this doctor in Pittsburgh is who you're still working with currently?
Yes.
Okay. What is the kind of game plan moving forward as far as colonoscopies? Is there any type of set schedule or something along those lines? Do you have to do any type of blood testing work with regards to Remicade and medications? Or how often are you going to see doctors and related to GI, and what types of things are involved?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that initially it was a lot. So it was every couple of months to kind of, and the GI doc worked with me remotely. So his staff and worked with me, via phone calls and mail me a script for blood work. And they would monitor that a lot remotely from, I live 30 miles from Pittsburgh or so that made it easier for me.
Sure.
Less stress. So the miracles of modern technology helped that out.
Definitely.
So a lot of blood work. At one point, I was getting blood work every few weeks, just to monitor, my vitamin D levels or see whatever was happening. That's since kind of trailed off significantly. Now I'm at the point where I was seeing Dr. Ruggiero every few months. I've had a colonoscopy about once a year until it kind of leveled off. Now I'm down to seeing him once a year unless something pops up.
Sure.
And then same thing with colonoscopies. There's a lessened schedule. I'm still at a higher risk of having to have another colonoscopy done, but it's less. So now I'm down to every 5 years, I think. I'm 43, so the next one I'm scheduled for is 46, 47, 48, or something like that. So
Gotcha.
But beyond that, it's I didn't want to lose my colon. I used to work with a guy that had an ileostomy done, and he did the thing where he started to feel good, and he thought that he was gone. It was done, and he stopped his meds, and boom, it was rough. But I'm not going to rule that out in the future.
Sure.
Because I don't know if it's going to. But I figure I'm going to. I got this colon for myself. It's supposed to stay in my body. If I can manage it medically and keep it there, great.
Sure.
So, but that's pretty much where I am.
Excellent. Sounds good. Well, Aaron, we're coming up on 20 minutes of your time. And is there any other messages or ideas you'd like to say to people that might be watching this at home, maybe that aren't feeling so hot right now, and concerned about what might happen in the future, or any questions you have for me, or anything for that matter that you'd like to maybe get out there with your message? You've got an incredible story.
Yeah, thank you. You know, I want to tell everybody that watches this message, there is an end in sight. There, you're not alone. You know, there are millions of us that have this. Unfortunately or fortunately, you know, it is what it is. You can't pick and choose who gets it, but there's a future ahead of you. In the future that you're going to have, it's going to be up to you to decide on how you want to handle that. Whether you want to be at home and be miserable and go to the bathroom 25, 30 times a day, or you want to have a lifestyle change. And that's what people want. You have to realize it's a lifestyle change. You gotta wrap your head around it. You gotta grab the tiger by the tail and go for it. And I know that's easier said than done with some people, and you know, you gotta. It's a must do because it can get worse. It can get a lot worse, and you don't want to put your life at risk. Everybody has someone that they love. Do it for those that love you, and do it for those that you love. And that's the overall message that I want to do. I have 3 kids and a beautiful wife, and I want to make sure that their dad is going to be around for a long time. So I owe it to them, and I owe it to myself to make sure that, you know, I carry on. And I do the races, and I'm coming up on my first Ironman triathlon, and so I got to work on nutrition at that point. But you know, I'm coming up on that. But I do this because I want people to know that there is life beyond diagnosis.
Definitely.
And that's the overarching thing. If you can't do a triathlon, then your triathlon may be going for a walk with your dog, going for a walk with your loved one, go to dinner, get out of the house. There's life beyond the 4 walls you're sitting in. But that's who I am. That's
sure.
You know, you got to grab a tiger by the tail. I'm that kind of guy, but you know, there's stuff that you can do.
Excellent.
Only you can make that choice.
Well, Aaron, a massive, massive thank you for sharing your story. I really appreciate it on this Sunday afternoon out there in Pennsylvania. And
absolutely.
Well, thanks a lot again. I hope we stay in touch. I wish you the very best. And I hope your doctor, have you written by any chance a doctor review for your doctor on the website? Do you know?
I don't know if I did or I didn't. I think I did. I've mentioned him a few times. So
I'll check it, and then I'll send you a link where you can pop something in, because he sounds like someone that other people would want to get to know if they're in that area. But I really appreciate all the info, and have an excellent rest of the weekend, and congrats on the future triathlons that you're going to be kicking some serious butt in. And
I appreciate that.
I hope your son had a good day at the hockey practice yesterday.
Well, he's got hockey here in about 6 more hours. So
oh wow.
Yeah. So hey, look, Adam. You know, a lot of props to you
Thanks
and your efforts keeping the community linked together. I think it's people like you that get a little bonus credit for everything you've done and continue to do for our diagnosis.
Hey, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Unification, and you know, we're stronger together than we are. We're only as strong as our weakest link. So,
there you go.
That's what you know. Hats off to you.
Thank you so much. Well,
absolutely.
Thanks again, and hopefully I'll talk to you again soon.
Absolutely, looking forward to it.
All right, take care.
Take it easy.
Bye-bye.
See ya.